Hi. Okay, so today we're going to start and finish chapter 10, which is essentially sexual development, starting from child. We're starting with childhood, and then 11 is going to be adulthood or something. Um, um, so we're going to start and finish it. That means that Thursday will be another discussion group meeting. Same bat time, same bat place. This Friday will be a quiz on chapter 10. Next week, we'll have chapter 11 and an exam on chapters 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, next week. And the good thing about that is that we don't have to worry about like any exams during like Thanksgiving or anything like that. In fact, that whole week, I'm going to assign no quizzes, nothing. So you guys have nothing to do over Thanksgiving break in my courses, just so you know. Does anyone have any questions? We're recording before I begin. I share my screen. My screen is shared. All right. So from birth to adolescence, the study of childhood sexuality faces practical difficulties. Right. So what are the ways to study childhood sexuality? A lot of them, most of the studies involve retrospective studies, retrospective accounts, where they're asking people about their childhood experiences later in life. You can ask the children directly, or you can observe the behavior directly. But those things happen in private, and children don't like to talk about those things. So, but none of the above are very effective for gathering information. Regardless, the topic is still important. Childhood sexuality is the precursor of later sexuality. So we must know what normal sexuality is to diagnose abnormal. Primates display sexual behavior early in life. All higher non human primates exhibit sexual behavior before puberty. For example, the infant rhesus monkey will present and mount. Present means the lordos. The females will present their behinds and the males will mount. This is used as a form of rehearsal, but no actual coitus takes place. Does anybody know what this picture is from?
Wasn't it that test of seeing whether or not monkeys would go for food or comfort,
Very
basically?
good. Very good. It's about contact comfort. It was the Harlow rhesus monkey experiment. Well done. In contemporary, which means modern Western culture, children are insulated from sex. Now, in the 1800s or before the 1800s, families often slept in the same rooms and often in the same beds. As a result, children were exposed to sometimes what the adults did. Studies showed no lasting effects of this exposure. Most recently, children are lied to or led away from the truth about sex and conception. How do you feel about this? Anybody? All right, I'll call on you. Jesse, do you think that children should be lied to or led away from the truth about sex and conception?
No, I don't really think no. Like no, they should. Definitely shouldn't be lied to or led away from. But I don't think you should. Clover agrees. Um, I don't think you should really be overt of like right away because that might scare the kid. But like, I don't really know. Um, I know like my family never really gave me the talk, but I was never really curious. But like, there's tons of examples of kids who don't know what they're doing because they were never told,
Yeah,
getting themselves or others into danger.
right,
So like,
right, exactly, right. Because if you tell the truth about conception, then maybe through sex education, I mean, that's sex education, maybe there'd be less unplanned pregnancies. June, how did you handle your kids?
How did I handle my kids?
Good.
Um, School told them everything.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean,
That's good.
they've learned coming down. I mean, my youngest, we haven't had to talk yet. She's not even 9 yet,
Mhm.
um, but the two oldest learned in health class in 6th grade before we even had to talk. And then even before then, they learned on a school bus going to school. So,
Do they? Okay, exactly. So that's one of the things you got to guard. We have to guard against, and that's where we
yes,
have to inoculate our kids and say, look, now You're getting to the age where kids are going to start talking about things that they know nothing about. So if that happens, I want you to come to me, and then I'll explain it to you for reals what happens, right? Okay.
My son, since he's the eldest, he also protects his sister and tells her not to do certain things. So
Mhm.
him knowing he's like that big protective brother. So I mean, I do have to talk. It's really, I think it's more awkward for me to have a talk with him than it is to my daughter.
That is understandable. What I think is a really good practice for those who have no children but plan to have children in the future is once you start having children, normalize it way early, right? Like really early. Like talk about penises and vaginas and breasts and talk about the basic concepts of the human anatomy. So then when they do get to that age, you've already had this conversation about what a penis does and what a scrotum holds and the ovaries and the testes and the uterus and all these different parts of the body. And so when it comes time to the more, for lack of better words, perverse questions, like, mom, what's a BJ? Or and you're like, oh, well, that's oral sex. That's fellatio. And when you have that natural, non-awkward experiences that led up to that point, it's not so bad. So for others who don't have children yet, um, normalize it early, and it's so much easier. Like my wife and I have zero problems talking to our kids, zero, and they're not feeling awkward, and we're not feeling awkward. It's actually kind of nice. So anyway,
A question.
yeah,
Uh, I totally agree that we have to start early to talk to them because we want them to know what we think about it, and instead of knowing from any other person, they
yes,
will know anyway from the others. But it's important that we tell them what we think. But don't you think it depends on the age? We start early, but at the same time, we don't give the whole story about it, because sometimes they will not understand if they are in like in early ages,
yes,
like 6 years, 5 years.
yes,
So don't you think we start like break it down a little bit, and every time we increase one more
yes,
information, right? Am
yes.
I
Yeah,
right?
you're not talking about. Look, I didn't mean to imply. In fact, I've said this before. When people ask, how do I know what to tell my child in response to these
Yeah,
sorts of discussions? It's whatever they are cognitively capable of understanding.
exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have it perfect, Mimi. You have it
Okay.
perfect. So yeah, I haven't had the intercourse discussion with, well, my 7-year-old, obviously, my 9-year-old. I don't think I did with the 13-year-old, but I think the 14-year-old, she understands it. I think we had that because she's at the point now where technically she's capable of reproducing. And so then that's when you go, okay, well, now these are some things you need to know, right? This is how people get
Thank you.
pregnant. Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Good
I
point.
got a
Very good
question.
point. No, I'm not taking any more questions. All right, so I saw Jesse's hand, but Kaylee, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going first. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what happens if the child is told before they can handle it? Does that affect how they respond or like live their lives afterwards, like knowing the information?
No,
Know it too
they just
early?
won't understand it. They just won't understand it. You're just going to use terms that they won't understand.
I think my sister definitely understands it and she shouldn't. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
And she shouldn't.
she should not.
How
No,
old is your sister?
12.
And she shouldn't understand what sex is?
Not that. No, you're not gonna get it. I'm not gonna go into it. But like,
No, it's
she
okay.
really should really know everything she knows. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she probably isn't all there to know it yet either. So I don't really
Yeah.
know how she understands it.
Okay, so that's okay. Are we talking? Are we also including like pornography and things like that?
No, just like basic things. Just I feel like she really. So
Yeah.
12 years old should like know about it and like talk about it and stuff.
I think that by the age of, I would say by puberty, once they hit puberty and they're capable of reproducing, I think
Okay.
that individual, that adolescent, should know how babies are made. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine. But like really understanding it and like
Well, maybe she's just
not
smart.
just knowing about it, like getting it and like talking about it. Like you know, like how kids are. They
Yeah.
use like slang and
I
stuff
don't
like
understand why that's a bad thing.
that. All right.
I mean, not for nothing. Now she knows how people get pregnant, and
Not that. That's fine. Babies happen, whatever. But
yeah.
like I feel like they're now using it more sexually. Like now they know about it, they're gonna talk about it more sexually. It's not just about like reproducing and
See, now that's one of the things. I see your point. Okay, now I see. So you're saying that she's not mature enough to handle that information.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, um, that's her. That's on her.
Yeah. I was
So
just wondering if does it really
yeah,
affect though, like knowing too much? Like
yeah. So yeah. So okay. So there are kids, right? Oh man, wait till you guys start having kids. June knows what I'm talking about. But when you guys start having kids and you start seeing your kids interact with other kids, you start to be able to real quickly, really quick, identify who are the kids that you don't like. And those are the kids that should be kind of kept in the dark because they ruin it for everybody. Um, so I'm not saying that's your sister. I'm not. But there might be people around your sister who are like that, who are taking this information. And not for nothing, 12-year-olds are wicked immature. You give them any ammunition, they're going to go, well,
that's what I mean.
yeah,
Not about knowing. Like I
yeah,
completely understand that you should always
yeah,
be open and honest, but like some people can't handle it. Some
yeah.
can't.
Yeah, that's, I guess that's going to happen with anything. You give them, you start talking about how like a Twinkie's made, they're going to make a joke about it, you know?
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then they're gonna give the wrong information to other kids that age. I feel like it's sometimes like you
Well,
gotta like
yeah. Well, that's the problem, right? That's where most of us learn about sex is from our peers,
yeah.
unfortunately. And that's what
Mhm.
we're trying to combat. That's why if we get ahead of it and normalize it, kids would be like, that ain't a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
How do you think you got here? Your dad humped your mom. What are you talking about? Knock it off. So yeah, I see your point. That's good. Yeah, there are personality differences.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesse.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Come on, you raised your hand 3
I'm
times.
sorry, Jesse. I went so
No, you're fine. I don't think it was anything important.
Well, we were talking about should kids know and at what age and how much they should know at what age. Nothing?
Oh,
There you go.
it's just a little funny thing, but I used to think that babies were delivered through the belly button, and I remember learning that that wasn't how that worked by watching 16 and Pregnant with my sister, and me being like, so that's where babies come from?
I think that's more common than people know.
Well, it's just, yeah, like a lot of my friends thought it came from the belly button, but that was the way that I found out instead of my parents actually telling me.
You know what I think is interesting? I think it's interesting that a lot of girls, not women, a lot of girls don't know their anatomy well at all. Like they think that they're peeing out, or sometimes they think they're peeing out of their vagina, or sometimes they think the baby comes out of the pee hole. And it's like, don't you feel it? Don't you feel where your pee's coming from? Don't you know the difference between? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I got into a not really an argument with one of my friends because they just did not know their own anatomy, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's part of our culture, right? We make it so
yeah,
taboo to even understand our anatomy, for crying out loud. So one of the first things that we talked about in this class, it was like on the first or second class, was maybe I didn't say it, but I'll often tell like my college students, you people, be like, ladies, go buy a mirror, go buy a handheld mirror, and start looking at your own stuff and figuring out that things look different in different places, and it's not just a picture, you know. Yeah. Okay. Some
I thought they
children,
were vacuumed out.
huh?
I thought they were vacuumed out.
Yeah.
babies.
That's what my mom told me.
I think I thought they pooped him out when I was a kid.
My mom literally told me I was vacuumed out of her stomach.
Huh. That's weird.
Sponsored by Dyson.
I don't. They must have been joking, but you can't tell me that as a kid and like me not think it's actually true.
Right. We trust our parents, right? Yeah. Okay, so some children engage in solitary sexual activity. The physiological processes of sexual nature start as early as several weeks before birth, where boys will experience penile erections in the womb. The cause of the erections in young boys are generalized, meaning there's no specific stimuli. This occurs during a wide variety of physical and mental stimuli. Could be just moving in a car, walking to the front of class, overlooking heights, etc. This would be the misattribution of arousal. The body doesn't know any different. It's the fight or flight. It's the same thing as a fight or flight response. So that's why males will experience erections during the fight or flight response. Most European mothers and ejaculate during the rest and digest. Ejaculate during the fight or flight. That's what it is. Most European mothers claim to have witnessed their children touching their own genitals. About half of American mothers claim the same. So that speaks to cultural differences. Because when children are touching their own genitals, June maybe would back me up on this one. Boys have an incredible habit of just hanging on, just holding their penises.
Mhm.
Just 4 or 5 year olds, just holding on to it, not doing it, not masturbating, not tugging at it or doing anything. They're just holding it. I remember my sons, both of them, they'd be playing in soccer and youth sports. They'd be like 4 or 5 years old, and they would be standing on the field just holding on to their penises. And I'd walk up to the side of the field, let go of yourself. And they're like, what? What? I'm like, just put your hand away. Because they're just standing there holding on to their penises. No
Yeah.
reason. Yeah.
So I was about to ask a question, like before Jesse speaks about this. When they touch their private parts, do you think they understand what's going on, or just they touch it for pleasure? I don't know why they do this.
It's a very simple physical pleasure. It's not sexual in the sense that it's like scratching an itch.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have something too, Jesse? Jesse's like, I still do that.
No, I was just laughing.
Oh, it's true. It's true. Yeah. So if we have most European mothers claiming witness their children holding their genitals or touching their genitals, and only half of American mothers, what could that be? Children should be the same no matter which culture you're in at this age, right? There's no like, oh, you were born in America, so you have less free nerve endings in your penis. No. That means that the mothers are not admitting it. Okay. And that the European mothers are more accepting of it. All right. Interpersonal sexual activity can occur during childhood. These are activities that involve others. This includes showing or peeking at others, young and old, playing doctor. More than half of us did this, but there's no evidence of maladjustment. There's also a game of 7 minutes of heaven, right? So right around adolescence, you're going to start playing the game of you and you go into the closet, shut the door for 7 minutes, see what happens.
Who's actually done that in here?
I witnessed it.
I wasn't cool enough.
That sounds like such an 80s thing.
Or like spin the bottle.
I missed it. What was it? My daughter came in and asked me a question. Sorry, what was said, and I can see if I can.
Have you played 7 Minutes in Heaven?
What is 7 minutes in heaven? Even though I'm older, I don't know what it is.
Okay. It's just like where you go in the closet and I guess you have to kiss people or something. I don't think it's cool. I think it's kind of weird, but
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
never did that.
Yeah, it's based
good
on
on you.
peer pressure and all that. Yeah. Yeah. So
I
this will
know
happen.
people that have done it. I just haven't done it myself. And maybe it's a good thing that I didn't do it.
Or maybe you missed out. Who knows?
Maybe I missed out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm old now. I don't care.
It's fine. It's fine. It still happens though. People are still doing it. Okay. Anyway.
I should ask my kids, hey, do you know what 7 minutes in
Why
heaven
not?
are?
Yeah.
All right, let me call for them. I'll ask them. I'll put you on mute.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna really okay. So when they asked adults what they did when they were children, girls and boys, when they were girls and boys, the responses showed that 28% of girls talked about sex when they were girls, and 30% of boys. 22% of boys more than girls, 13% looked at pornographic pictures. 44% of girls, 34% of boys kissed and hugged. 23% of girls, 28% of boys showed their genitalia. 19% of girls and 17% of boys let another child touch your genitalia. 19% of girls, 17% of boys touched another child's genitalia. 4% of girls and 10% of boys inserted objects into another person's rectum or vagina. 2% of another child inserting into their rectum or vagina. 5% of boys said they put their penis in someone else's mouth. 1% of girls and 2% of boys had someone else put a penis in their mouth. 1% of girls and 4% of boys said they had vaginal intercourse, and 3% of boys said they had anal intercourse.
Where are they doing this?
Huh?
On the playground?
I don't know. Play dates.
So I just asked my son, and he heard about the 7 minutes in heaven in school. They teach it in books and that. But he hasn't done it himself, but he's heard of it.
Oh, if they're teaching it in books, it's no longer cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't be in textbooks. So that's it. It's over.
Once it's in a textbook, it's basically like archaic. Like they're like, oh, remember when our great grandparents came over on the Mayflower and they used to play heaven? That's how
funny.
the settlement at Roanoke was happening.
I got a question before we
Yeah.
move on. How do you know how old they were? Like not actually, but like in a range. Was it before puberty?
It's before puberty.
Okay.
Cultures vary in their attitudes toward childhood sexuality. The Chua people from Central Africa encourage children to play husband and wife in little huts away from home. The Lepcha people from northern India believe that coitus is necessary for girls to become mature women. Several tribes in New Guinea believe that male-male fellatio is necessary to develop into men. And swallowing the ejaculate also.
Oh,
Mhm. Most adult child contacts involve older children and are single encounters. Girls' partners are usually adult males, and boys' partners are usually adolescent females. 80 to 90% of encounters involve adult touching the child's genitals. Most often, these are people known by the family. They are either a family friend or a relative. Some kinds of adult child sex are more harmful than others. Children that are most likely to experience the adverse effects of adult child contact are the ones who are coerced. Girls are more likely to suffer harm than the boys. Strategies to prevent adult child sex are quite effective, where people are teaching good touching, like hugging, and bad touching, fondling, at schools. Some concerns that such programs may cultivate sex-phobic attitudes. One study of college-aged women found that these programs were much less likely to have experienced adult-child sexual contact. Your thoughts? It seems to have worked in the sense that it lowered the adult-child sexual contact. The argument, the critics say, you're creating a sex-phobic attitude in the culture.
Wait, so the critics say we're creating a sex-phobic attitude. So encouraging children to not get touched by adults is sex-phobic.
Wait, what?
Evie, leave.
No, that's not what they're saying.
Okay,
yeah.
then I'm confused.
So what they're saying is that, remember when we were talking earlier and we said, what do we tell kids and at what age? Because we know it has an impact on their future sexual behavior, sexual thoughts, and sexual feelings.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the critics are concerned that by creating a sex-phobic attitude, by developing it, they're starting it in this that's good, that's bad, that they'll transfer it into adolescence and adulthood.
Oh, okay,
And now they're
okay.
going to think that all touching is bad, as in like not hugging and stuff, but
Oh, okay.
that
Yeah.
bad touching throughout life.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So it's not that, personally, I don't agree. I think that obviously if research shows that it's lessening adult child sexual contact, then keep the party going. Like keep telling them good touching, bad touching.
Can't that just
I'm
be
in favor of
alleviated
it.
with just having like another class when they get to their next age group and being
Right.
like, if you
There
were
you
at
go.
the age where you're going to want to touch other people,
There you go.
try to
There
make
you
sure
go.
it's at your own age
Right.
group.
There you go. So education's always going to be the answer, brother. Kaylee.
This is to stop pedophiles.
No, it has no impact on pedophiles. It stops children from
Thinking it's okay.
either thinking it's okay, because remember the one who are most harmed are the ones that are coerced. If they think that if they're no longer able to be coerced, one, or if there's another part to this, we didn't really talk about it, but I didn't really want to talk about it because I didn't know it was going to be uncomfortable for people. But some of the adult child contact, the children are okay with it
Mhm.
for various reasons. Either
What do you mean?
Yeah,
uh,
what's the reasons?
it either the attention or it feels good.
Yeah, but then both needs medication or needs to go to the doctor. This is not right.
No,
Yeah,
no one's saying it's right.
it's not right.
But
He's not saying that.
No, I'm not saying you are saying this. I'm saying that this is not right.
No, it's not. And no one's going to dispute that. No one disagrees with you at all, Beanie. What this is saying, though, is it's saying that children who have been touched, whoever had sexual contact with an adult, who under the circumstances were not coerced to do it, they were willing participants, don't experience the same effects as those who were coerced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that sometimes they need hugs because they were not hugged by their parents or they were treated bad, but not sex, you know what I mean?
I know exactly.
They need they need emotion, they need attention, but they doesn't need sex to feel accepted or
No, you're right.
Yeah.
No one's gonna disagree with you here.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that Corey hit the nail on the head, and that was simply, yeah, that's okay. Obviously, it's working, but then later down the road, there should be another level of education that says, like Corey said, at some point, some of you are starting to get to the age where your interests are changing. So at some point, these are going to be desired kind of, and they're not bad once you reach a certain age or maturity or stage of development.
Professor,
Yes.
I totally agree that education is the key, or it's really important. But do you think as parents we should monitor what's going on at school or what they are learning? Because maybe the teacher is not, is not presenting the material in the right way he should,
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like my dad always said, if you don't look out for your kids, who will? Yeah.
So we don't just say education and just leave it open, right?
No, it has to be real education, not just someone going, hey, let me tell you kids how I did it back when I was your age.
Exactly.
No. Yeah. No. No, because you could technically say that a sixth grader learning from another sixth grader about the birds and bees is education. No, it ain't. That's not good education. No, you're right. Pre-adolescent children segregate by sex. This is before puberty, right? So this is the age ranging from the beginning of puberty to 12 or 13, okay? Children of this age tend to spend much of their free time with same-sex groups. This minimizes their probability of encountering any heterosexual interactions. However, one study found that almost 30% of sixth graders, which would be an average age of 11, in urban public school systems were already engaging in sexual intercourse. Meanwhile, nationwide, it's closer to 7% by the age of 13. Gender norms may traumatize pre-gay children. A pre-gay boy may be less interested in contact sports. Parents tend to notice more than the children themselves at younger ages, but when in pre-adolescence, it is noticeable and they may find themselves excluded. They may be called bad words like faggot or dyke. These are in your textbook. That's the only reason why I put it in there with quotes.
Oh, it's fine. My stepdad.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is the less interested in sports, is that like, why would pre-gay children be less interested in sports? Is that just like a personal thing, or is that a developmental thing?
You know this answer. You know.
Okay. But like, never mind.
No. You know
I
this
was gonna
answer.
say, is it all, but then there's no such thing as all.
You know this answer because we actually covered this to a degree. All of you know this answer. Let's do this. What are some stereotypical play behaviors for a boy?
Feminine behaviors, playing with dolls.
What are some stereotypical play behaviors for a boy?
Oh, wrestling.
Rough and tumble play. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Girls diagnosed with congenital adrenal hyperplasia are exposed to what in the womb?
Isn't that more testosterone?
Correct.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, girls diagnosed with congenital adrenal hyperplasia also have a stereotypical boy play type. Jesse asked, is it that they choose not to engage in sports, or is it something more along the development line? Do you know the answer now, Jesse?
Yeah.
Good. What is it? Essentially.
Development.
Yes, it is. Very good.
What is the pre-gay?
Pre-gay is a child who has no thinking thoughts about heterosexuality, bisexuality, homosexuality, but later when they hit puberty and they do have a sex drive and they do have a sexual orientation, they identify as gay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. The pubertal growth spurt occurs earlier in girls than in boys. During the growth spurt, girls gain about 10 inches and boys 11 in height. The average age is 11 and 13 for boys. This is the principal reason there is an average height difference of 4 inches between men and women. It's all about when puberty hits. More childhood development. That means more childhood growth. Less childhood development. Less childhood growth. So once you hit puberty, that's it. You're only going to get so much more. Girls will experience widening of the hips, boys widening of the shoulders. By adulthood, men have 50% more bone and muscle mass. Puberty is marked by visible and invisible changes. The most noticeable changes, pubic hair, vulva changes, and underarm hair. Vulva changes are when the labia begin to protrude, labia minora. If they're going to protrude, they're going to begin at this point, enlarging of the clitoris, that sort of thing. Boys, enlargement of the testes, the scrotum, the penis will lengthen. We say menarche is the onset of menstruation. This is the initial menstrual cycles, however, do not include ovulation. There's no egg being released in the first initial ones. Spermarche is the onset of mature spermatozoa in semen. And I thought it was gynomastia. Maybe it's gynecomastia. I don't know. I thought it was gynomastia. Well, gynecomastia, the development of breasts in males. Kaylee.
What about underarm hair? Why don't kids have it before puberty? Because isn't it just for like protection against like sweat and bacteria and stuff?
No.
What's underarm hair for then?
It's to release our stink.
Oh.
So children don't have that?
No. So the idea was before the advent of language in humans as a special intelligent species, we had to communicate what our status was, right? And so what we would do is we'd have what's essentially what the stank is, it's hormones from exocrine glands. They're being secreted onto our skin. And that's what's the other point in having a stink? There's no reason. So we used to use these as pheromones to communicate our physical state. Same with pubic hair, is to release and aerate our stank. So when the sweat mixes in with the hormones, and what it does is the armpit hair wicks it. It actually like sucks it out to like the tips of the hair pieces, and when air passes through it, that's when it stinks. This is why women, when they shave their armpits, or when anybody shaves their armpits or their pubic hair, they smell less because it's not being aerated so readily, like hair creates.
Oh.
Okay.
It's armpit hair and pubic hair is for releasing the stank that we have.
I know the pubic hair is,
Mhm.
but I thought armpit hair was more like kind of like how your eyebrows keep from sweat, like it helps like retain, not like let it go everywhere. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's how eyebrow sweat does it.
Mhm.
But I didn't really know it was just, well, it was, right? Because we're like really behind and we don't really need
Yes.
that now, right?
No,
Okay, we're just
No.
really behind. Our
you
bodies are
understand it perfectly. Yep, you do.
Okay.
You got it. So what causes puberty? Body weight. Boys, the average weight of puberty onset is 120 pounds. Girls, 66. Low weight girls may experience primary amenorrhea. That means an absence of the menstrual cycle. Or it may cease to menstruate after extreme activity or famine. This is called secondary amenorrhea. Once the critical weight has been met, kisspeptin is released, causes gonadotropin releasing hormone to be secreted and starting the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis.
Wow. I hope that won't be on a quiz.
Nah. Well, you should know what the HPG is, but you
Okay.
don't need to know about kisspeptin and GnRH. Puberty may come too early or too late. Precocious puberty, where it begins too early. We say that it's precocious if it becomes a thing before the age of 8, causes a child to end up shorter. Psychological and social adjustment problems. Delayed puberty begins too late, 13 in girls, 14 in boys. The specific cause is not identified, but it can be treated with or initiated with injection of testosterone for boys and estrogen for girls, often taller than others who reach puberty earlier. That makes sense because they've gotten more time for childhood growth. Oh, good, they got it. Many cultures have puberty rites. Adolescence is the period of psychosexual and social maturation that accompanies puberty, like the bar mitzvah, the Jewish coming of age for boys, the bat mitzvah, the Jewish coming of age ceremony for girls, the quinceanera, the Hispanic coming in of age ceremony for girls at 15. There are strong social influences on teen sexual behavior. The US population said that they had sex before the age of 15 is 16%. These are highest among the less educated, less intelligent, less religious, less affluent, or poorer. They have a significantly older boyfriend or girlfriend, and they watch a lot of TV.
All right.
Males masturbate more than females. Adolescents often feel guilty about masturbation. When asked during pubescence, they say they don't. When asked as adults, they say they did. Boys have always masturbated more, but girls are catching up, 39% in the 50s and 84% by 2003. And even higher than that now. The sexual behavior of American teens has increased and diversified. Immediately after World War II, most teens stopped before coitus. They'd make out a little bit, did some necking, get some fondling, whatever, but they would stop. They focused on their education, their work, etc. Oral contraceptives changed the prevalence, the legalization of abortion, and also the effective treatment for STDs. All these things gave them the opportunity to have sexy time. Some of these changes reduced the importance of marriage. Remember, people used to wait. used to wait. In fact, they would get married just to have sex. And then in some relationships, as you know, people only have sex for the reason of procreating. Non-coital sex is popular among teens. Oral sex is most popular among teens, over half of all teens by the age of 17. Why do you think that is? What about anal sex? African American adolescents are more likely to have sex and far less likely to engage in cunnilingus. Asian Americans engage in coitus the least of all U.S. races. So why do you think oral sex is becoming more popular? I think it's education. I think they're learning, hey, I can do this, still have my fun, still feel good, and not worry about getting pregnant.
That's fair.
Teen sexuality is central to the identity development. Is dating outdated? Serial monogamy is becoming less popular, right? That means you're monogamous, means you're in a committed relationship and you're only one at a time now. So it's one, then you break up, then you go to the next one, break up, go to the next one. Casual sex is increasing in popularity. Common terms: hooking up, friends with bennies, frick buddies. Traditional social patterns have been modified. Male and female teens are more equally positioned. As a result, females are beginning more and more to rate a partner based on their looks instead of the economic value or potential or status, as Mimi mentioned in my previous class. This affects males, but they have a better chance of achieving sexual relationships, and males are now experiencing more anxiety about their appearances. Because the expectations for women are different now. The expectations for our girls are different. Now they get to make the real decisions, not just yes or no to various, potential suitors, but now they can go, yeah, but for the right reasons. Yeah, you got stuff, you got personality, that's great, but I kind of got to look at you too. So teen pregnancy is declining, but still too common. 4 out of 5 teen pregnancies are not planned. The advantages of becoming a mother early, pay attention to this. I'm not saying you should, but just pay attention because it's interesting. You're less likely to develop breast cancer. You have less fertility problems in general. You're also able to enjoy the child because you have more energy. A decrease in teen pregnancy is seen mostly in African Americans, mostly due to contraceptive use, of which 86% reported using it, followed by abstinence, which accounts for 14%.
Wait, so 4 out of 5 are not planned. So there's that one teenager who's like, yeah, I want to have a baby now.
Yes.
What?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Quiet, baby. All right, I'm going to stop recording.